Thank you so much for joining us at the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got Cliff Hayden here with us today. Thank you so much for joining, Cliff.
Ola, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, Cliff, I'm sure you could do a way better job than I can in terms of telling our Dwell listeners a little bit more about who you are, what you've been doing, and kind of what you've been up to lately.
All right. So, brief overview. I am a happily married husband and father of 5 beautiful children. I have spent the last 15 years learning real estate and learning how to quit my corporate job and do this full time. And there's a bunch of hiccups and roadblocks along the way. And then my new goals now are I'm making a big point to stay at home more, be with my kids and travel and have fun. That's kind of where I'm at in my journey right now.
And why is that? Actually, let's start with that, right? Because I just spoke to Rod Cliff, not long ago, and we talked a lot about kind of, he made all the success in the world, and then he realized he was so depressed when he had the big house, the fancy cars. And you made a really good point.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to make a conscious effort to spend time with your wife, and your 5 kids. Why is that?
Yeah, I tell you, it's a great question. And the answer for me is, I come from very humble beginnings. Come from divorced parents, both great parents. And that's another, and they're actually remarried now. They got divorced when I was 2 and remarried when I was 18. And so my dad was a Vietnam vet. And so they had some issues with that. But anyway, so I come from humble beginnings, didn't have much growing up. And so I got a job. My first real job was at AT&T, and I was called an outside plant technician, which was a fancy word for construction worker. And so, where I come from, money was just a goal. And it's just how I don't think my parents intended that, but it was just like if you had money, if you had this, everything would work itself out. You'd be happier. You'd have more things to do, less stress. And so for the last, I guess, 30 something years of my life, I used money as the goal and not a tool. And then once I got the money, I was like, my kids weren't a mess, but I wasn't around to be a good father. Everything I thought that I was supposed to do as a man and as a father, I wasn't really providing for them. And so I got to the point to where, we had the nice house and the toys and we did stuff, but we weren't, it wasn't a good home life. And because I made money the goal and not the tool. And I heard a very good gentleman had a conversation in New Orleans a couple years ago, and it kind of was the opening conversation. And me and my wife at that time weren't very happy. We were arguing a lot. I still was busy, and he said, what if you put as much time in your wife and your family as you did real estate? How would your relationship be better? And it kind of floored me. I was like, I spent all my time on the business and not on what I'm working for anyway, which is my family. So I just had my priorities mixed up, and I started kind of getting everything back in order. And that's what I've been working on now for the last, few years.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, and just kind of giving our listeners a different perspective, because I think coming from a different country, from the United Kingdom, it always seems like America is kind of seen as the ultimate consumeristic society where kind of money is everything. So I just really love the fact that we can not only be vulnerable to talk about it, but also to educate others to say that money is important, but it is not as important as you might think it is. So thank you for sharing that, Cliff. The other thing I wanted to the other thing I really wanted to talk about was I kind of read somewhere that you failed the drug test, and that really helped you to be living the best life that you want to live. What was that about?
It was a transitional step. And so how that worked was I worked at AT&T, and I was there for 10 years. So I was there for a while, and I was, like I said, a fancy outside plant technician or construction worker. So I worked a bucket truck, and we worked outside, and I made good money. I was in my 20s, and I was making, upwards to 80, 100,000 a year, depending on how much overtime I wanted to work. I mean, it was a lot of work, but we made good money. And so I started, I kind of tell you my story. So how I got into real estate was I was working at AT&T. My goal there was, from where I come from, is get a job, work my way up to supervisor, to first level, second level, work my way up the corporate ladder at AT&T. And I found there's some issues that happened to where I thought that they cared about me, and I realized they could not care about me. I don't want to cuss on your show, but they did not care about me. And so I started transitioning into real estate. And I got into real estate. My sister and brother-in-law were Army veterans. And when they came back from the war, I want to say early 2000, and I can't remember exactly, but he brought a game called Cash Flow, long story short. And we started playing this game called Cash Flow. And then you could buy houses and rent them out and make money off the rent. And then you could sell them and make a bunch of more money. And I was just, I was in awe. I was like, you people really do this. I had no idea. And so my brother-in-law can remember while we're playing the game, I just stopped talking to everybody. And like, my brain's just like, holy crap, man. I found something I would love to do because I liked working on, I was in construction, I like working on stuff. And so from there, I went to Memphis for 3 months on overtime for AT&T, working some storm damage. And I saved up a bunch of money, came back, and a friend of mine's mother-in-law had a duplex that she was selling. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. We're going to buy a duplex. I had no idea what I was doing. Horrible deal, by the way. But anyway, the process of me buying that duplex, I was talking to loan officers because I had a down payment. And then the loan officer told me about a local real estate club called CREA, which is our local real estate group. And so I went there, and that night there was some local speakers talking, and one of them really clicked with me, a guy named Mike Butler. And then I literally went to his office the next day and asked him to help me. And so from there, he became my mentor and took me under his wing and kind of made sure I didn't fall on my face too much. And he actually, a funny story, he made fun of me for the first 3 minutes about that duplex that I bought and telling me what a bad deal it was. And just kind of funny. I was so pumped up and proud when I walked in his office, and I left and with my tail between my legs and crushed from his negative comments. But he turned out to be a real good friend and has helped me all along the way. And so what I started doing was buying real estate. He was helping me buy real estate while I was on my job. And I had a good job at AT&T, so I had good credit and I could get loans and was doing okay. And then I started more bad stuff happening at AT&T that I wasn't liking it, and I was going in every day and just not having fun anymore. It wasn't the old way that it was when I first started. And so I knew I wanted to do real estate full time, but I didn't have the guts to just go, okay, I quit and let's jump into this other venue and not know what's going to happen. And so what I did is when you have a CDL, when you have a construction worker like I was, you have a CDL license, which mandatory you for random drug tests. You got to take random drug tests. So it just so happened when I was on that crossroads of, man, how do I quit? I don't want to quit and walk away and not fall on my face and not have another job to go back to. So they popped me with a random drug test, and I basically told my boss, you know what, I'm not going to take it. And when you don't take the drug test or refuse to take it, it's like a fail. And then when you fail the drug test, they send you to rehab. And then when you go to rehab, you don't get paid, but you can't come back to work until you complete your rehab hours. And long story short, I mean, just the pieces of the puzzle that fit together were so cool. The rehab counselor was my aunt and uncle's next door neighbor. And so I knew him. Very cool guy. I was comfortable. I told him what was going on and what I wanted to do. And he thought I was crazy, but he was like, you know what? If you want to give it a shot, let's do it. And so I turned 8 hours of rehab into 4.5 months suspension at AT&T. And I started doing real estate full-time, 100%. And in the first month of me doing it full-time, I made my salary doing wholesale deals. And then I knew that, you know what? I'm done. I don't have to go back. And so I stayed on there. Well, I didn't quit right then, is because I didn't get paid, but I still had insurance. So I wanted to keep my insurance for as long as I could, especially with the kids. And so, that's kind of the short story. And there was a lot of hiccups on that road, but that's how I work. That's how I, transitioned full-time into real estate.
Wow, there's just so many things that you touched on that I want to talk about. So first you went to your RIAs, then you met a mentor, but you followed up, you got a mentor, you secured a mentor, and
Yes.
then, wholesaling, of course, I know you do a lot of property management as well, and with Show Me, the rental.com. But before we go to all of that, what do you say to someone who might be thinking, or who might be, in that situation you were in, which was working a job, but thinking you could do more with yourself, but they aren't just sure how to get started? What do you say to that person?
Another great question, Ola. I would say, looking back, if I had to do it again, me and my wife now are big Dave Ramsey fans, getting on a budget, understanding your finances, know what it really takes you to live. And if something happened, you got an emergency fund and you can do things. So I would get a budget together, get a plan, kind of have a vision, get a mentor, join real estate clubs, and just educate yourself. You really need to educate yourself. And if you have a job you don't like, and you want to move, then I would work on I don't know how to say it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think your gut just going to tell you. In my case, my gut, I just knew, like I knew if I had that opportunity, I could do it. I was still a little scared because if I didn't want to walk away from that job because they didn't have a lot of jobs like that for a guy like me in our town. And so I think you just know, and I think you plan for it. And there comes a time where you got to believe in yourself and you just do it. But I think you do it educational wise, and you don't just go, well, you know what, today I'm gonna do real estate and let's quit my job and start doing real estate. That's going to be a bad idea. I think once you educate and get to that point of knowledge, you'll just know when you're in your heart, you'll know that you can do it.
Yeah, I think I really like that point because there's some talk on like burn the boat, and I understand and I appreciate that. But sometimes in some instances that might be a little bit dangerous if you just wake up one day and quit your job and without educating yourself and say I want to do real estate. That might not be such a great idea. So tell us what happened afterwards. So you did some wholesale deals, made good money. And then what else happened? When did you find that peace to actually say, hey, I want to quit my job?
So when I was on suspension, I started wholesaling properties, and actually wholesaling to one of the wholesale deals was to a guy I worked with at AT&T. And so I was also working for a foreclosure agent in our town, and this was in I want to say 2006, 7, 8 in that range. And so at that time, the economy was real estate wise for buying was great, but it was a bad foreclosure market, and we had a lot of scary things going on in our economy back then. And so as a foreclosure agent, I was making really good money, selling people houses. So I wasn't at that time, I wasn't buying too many rentals. I wish I would have, but I did not because I was, I didn't have a job and I was trying to build up cash and just make sure I could sustain the lifestyle I was accustomed to. And so I started being a foreclosure agent. Met a lot of people that way, a lot of other foreclosure agents and brokers. And I found a niche in the market to where a lot of these broker agents on foreclosures they were having trouble when they got a house. It was in such bad shape, they needed a company to come fix it up. They didn't have anybody. And so I just kind of kept listening to them talk, and I was like, you know what, I can do that. And so then I started up a general contracting company because I already knew how to do repairs and I had guys in place just on a small scale. And we just kind of built that scale up, and I started not only being a foreclosure agent, I started running a general contracting crew for some of the biggest foreclosure agents in town. And so we were really busy fixing up houses. We started a grass cutting company because they needed people to cut grass. They needed a preservation company because they needed people to trash out the houses and change the locks. And so I just kind of got my, I jumped in both feet. And, look back on it, it was a good learning experience, but I literally wasted 3 or 4 years of my life because all I did was work. And it caused a lot of problems at home, caused a lot of problems with my kids and not being around like I should have because like I said in the beginning, money was the goal. So that's all I thought about was, okay, this is what's going to make us happy. This is what's going to work for us. And so on that, I was managing other properties too. I had my own rentals that I was managing also. And it was just nonstop. And when I came home, we sit down and eat dinner and I was never present. And my wife would get so mad because I'm sitting there while we're at the table talking on my phone, text messaging, emailing, people, she's trying to talk to me, my kids are, and I'm kind of like, I'm busy, guys, let me get this thing done, give me a minute. And it was just causing a lot of problems. And she was getting very resentful, and for good reason, because yes, we had a nice house and nice things, but if you're not there to share them or enjoy the journey and the ride, who cares? And so I knew something had to change. And so I've been spending the last few years putting better systems in place, more, I guess, fluent with me and with my personality and how I really do things. Because I know there's systems out there for everybody, and I think they all work in their own right, but you still got to know who you are and then build that system based on what you like to do and don't like to do. So I've spent the last several years kind of getting that cleaned up and literally spending my days now doing what I like to do, which is talking to people like you, Ola. I'm doing podcasts and just to do my pitch on while I'm on the show too is, so sitting at that table, I found out when I had empty rental houses, I was very stressed out, and I would always get the same phone calls. They answer the phone, hello, Altec. Tell me about your house. I got a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Give them a description of the house. We would pre-screen over the phone, which we would ask, how long you've been on your current job, how much money you have in the bank, are you on Section 8, will you sign a 3-year lease, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I'm wasting a lot of time doing the same thing over and over and over. And so I said, it's got to be a system out here that does this. This is not complicated. There's got to be something out here to take away these phone calls and emails and texts and automate this. And so I went and looked, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like, you know what? This is such a big time saver that if we can do this, this would help a lot of people with a lot of headaches. Because this is kind of, I call it the crap part of property management, which is screening the leads coming into your house. So I couldn't find something, so we just created something. And we created Show Me the Rental. That's how it was born. And it was born so I could have my time back at the dinner table, and my wife would stop giving me dirty looks and yelling and screaming at me. And it kind of saved my, in a way, it saved my marriage, because now when I'm home, just to give you an idea where I am nowadays, I'm home every day by 3 o'clock, get the kids off the bus.
So you basically created Show Me the Rental from a place of angst, right? And you've been thinking of a way to better systematize your life. So
yeah.
What would you say, or what kind of from a property management perspective, what are the most important questions we should be asking as a property manager?
That's a great question. I don't know the most important answers or questions. I think what it is, for me personally, I built a lifestyle. I built my business based on my lifestyle. So what I did for me is I put my life first and my business and stuff second. Now, it's easy to say because I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm at a point now where I can do that. So starting off, it's hard to do. Starting off, you just got to get in there and go. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go up and down, and then you just kind of be persistent and stick with it. And the good thing about real estate is we talk about it. We have a little mastermind group we meet, and we talk about it all the time. Time kind of fixes everything in real estate. So if you buy the house wrong, time will fix it, because the mortgage is going to get paid down. The rent's going to go up. The property value is going to go up. If your rent's too low, in time, you can keep increasing it, so everything works out great. So as long as you can hang on and get systems in place, you can do pretty well. So for me personally, what we did is when I first started buying, I bought a lot of crap I shouldn't have bought. Didn't know it at the time, so it was a good learning curve, but I was buying C and D properties for cash flow. And so on paper it looked great, but they were so property management intensive, it was taking a lot of time doing stuff that, man, I wished I did. It was not good use of my time. And so what I did after the market started rebounding is I had those houses, and I started going, you know what? These are my headaches. If I want this lifestyle, if this is my plan for my life, I got to put myself in a spot to be able to live this life. And so, okay, what are my headaches? What do I like to do and not like to do? So I took my headache properties, and when a tenants moved out, I would fix them up and I would sell them. And I'd take that money and pay off debt. And then I did that over and over till I only have about 4 or 5 houses left to do that to. And then I've upgraded to A and B houses, where now I can get nicer houses in nicer neighborhoods, preferably by good school districts. I like little brick ranches that have, little 1-story with basements and contain. And then I make them very, very nice, almost, basically as nice as a retail house, because I want to attract that quality of tenant customer that I'm not going to have a headache with. That they're not going to be calling me like this is a Holiday Inn, and every time there's some kind of little problem, they don't know how to fix anything. So, and we screen them very carefully now based on what we want, which is we're going to provide you with a better rental house than anybody in this neighborhood or anybody in this area. And in return, we're going to want you to take care of small things, small items. Don't bother us with those. And then we want you to pay your rent on time. So I don't want to be tracking you down. And so what we do now when we screen is, just like before, we don't do Section 8 anymore. We've had too many problems in our local town with the new rules and regulations with it. So we don't do Section 8. That's our number one question. Are you on Section 8? How long have you been on your current job? We want somebody who's been responsible, can hold down a job. How much money do you have in your bank? So we want somebody that goes, okay, I'm not redlining, so when my car breaks or something goes wrong, I'm not going to have any money. And so we want reserves in their account. Are you willing to sign a 3 to 5 year lease? So we get long-term customers now, because we tell them, if we do a year lease, but if you move out in a year and we just got do a simple paint and carpet or a simple touch up, we just lost, a lot of our cash flow for that year. And so we want long-term customers. And then that, that's basically it. And we
Okay.
just kind of go from there. That makes our life easier. So now I travel, I hardly get, I literally, we might get one call a month. I mean, it's very cool on what we do, but we set our houses up in a way they should be okay for the next 20 years.
So you kind of have a specific demographic, a specific product that you go for, like you said,
Exactly.
yeah, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath sort of thing. Okay. So what is kind of the next step? Are you kind of just, are you kind of at a place where you don't really want to, take on too many properties, or are you thinking of scaling? What are your thoughts for the future?
It's a great question. And it's a really good question. So I don't know if I got the right answer, but my answer is I don't like politics. It scares me to death. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people can't talk to each other or disagree without having to get argumentative and fight. And so what scares me is I hear things now like we're going to tax the rich. We're going to go up to 70% taxes and just silly stuff that makes no sense to me. And so I have, I call it the 15, what do I want to call it? The 15, 800, 15. And so what that means is I want to bring in 15,000 a month, no debt on my real estate, which I'm paying off now. So no debt on my real estate, bringing 15,000 a month to pay for my lifestyle. So that will pay for our travels, for our house, for anything we want to do, which is more than enough money if you don't have debt. I mean, you don't need that much. That's for whatever dumb reason. That's my number. I don't know why.
Yeah, good
So you
number.
can do that with 4 or 5,000. You don't need a lot if you don't have debt. So 15,000, the 800,000 or 800 is I want $800,000 in my kids' college funds. So I have 5 kids. On average, the average math is it's $40,000 a year to go to college, and that pays for everything: books, room, board, everything. That's 160 a kid. It comes out to roughly 800 grand. I can do that in what I do that in what I call a CESA account, a Coverdell Educational Savings, which is a tax-free account that I can do deals in and put that money in there tax-free. So if I didn't do that, that 800 grand would cost me roughly 1.3, 1.4 millions if I paid for it in after-tax dollars. So I'm saving a ton there. And what we do for our kids is UPS is big in our town. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And so I love the UPS program. We're going to pay for you to go to school, but here's what we expect. We expect you to do some work for us, and we expect you to get A's and B's. If you do these and you qualify for that, we're going to pay for your school. So I'm going to treat my kids kind of the same way. Like, I'll help you, but if you're going to take it for granted and you're going to screw off and, be a goofball, then, you're on your own. The other 15 is for tax-free investments. So I do a Roth IRA and what they call a solo 401k. And I do my best deals a year in those 2 accounts, because if for some reason that first 15 we're living on, if they say, oh, we're going to tax all these people. And I always want to ask these politicians is, I get you need a tax. I said, I don't understand why. If you would tell me where the money goes now, like, what do you do with all the money you make now? And you legitimately have a legit request, like, hey, we need more money and show me how, I don't mind paying more. But I feel like the government has an insatiable thirst to spend other people's money, and there's no accountability. So I worry about, they just keep wanting more, but they don't know where it goes now, what they do with it all, and how much waste is involved is incredible. So I want to do tax-free account investing also. So if it does come to that, I still got 15,000 a month coming in on tax-free investments that won't bother me at all. So that's kind of my big game plan, and that's where I'm at. I got the first part pretty much taken care of. I got half of the second, and then I'm working on the third now. I've got one deal, a couple good deals going on in my retirement accounts, and just keep plugging away at those.
Fantastic. I really love that. That's a really, really good plan. So we're definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers.
Yep. All right, I'll do my
You
best.
ready?
I'll do my best. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. First question. What makes you, Cliff, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
It's a great question. My motto is you can't fail if you don't quit. So I think what I believe in myself, I believe highly in myself. Not in an arrogant way, but I work very hard. I'm more efficient than I've ever been, and I won't take no for an answer. So if I want something, I'm gonna go get it and figure out a way to take care of it. I think I'm unique in that way. Yes.
Fantastic. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing you picked up from that book?
It's a good question, and this sounds terrible. I don't like reading books. I can only focus for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I just go off in another fantasy world. So I've actually used an app called Blinkist. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I do.
What Blinkist does, it takes a book that I want to read and makes it a book report. And so that book I know I'm never going to finish, I can read it in about 15, 20, 30 minutes and get all the kind of highlights and the important things on that book. So I do that every morning. I try to read a book every morning on Blinkist.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like that.
And the book I just read was called Traction, by the way. So I think it's a great book, especially for new people, and it's how to implement, run your business effectively.
Fantastic. Last question. So obviously you've got your business running, somewhat automated. You've got a lot more time. You've got, showmetherental.com. You've got your family as well. What do you do for fun?
That's another great question. I travel. So what we started doing is last year we took a 40-day RV trip with the kids. And what we did is we rented an RV and we went out west for the summer. And along the way, I spoke to different RIA clubs for Show Me the Rental, sort of pitching my idea so we could make that partially of that trip a write-off. And we went out to Arizona, which is absolutely beautiful. Sedona, Arizona. If you've never been, I recommend it for anybody. And then we went up through California, through Oregon, Washington, and Utah, and then came back home. So that's what I love, traveling and meeting people like you, Ola, and just kind of seeing how different, I enjoy watching my kids seeing things I never got to see. So I came from a different kind of world, which I like that they're sheltered. I think all fathers and parents want their kids to do better, see more, or have more. And so I love watching them on the beaches, just interacting with people. Right now in our town, which is very sad, we have a drug epidemic going on. So, I'm so sorry for that beep. But so we have a drug epidemic going on. So we go and give out waters and we do things to help out, to realize that, we're very lucky to have what we have. This is not normal. It's a lot of hard work. And I want my kids to understand that. And so that's what I do for fun.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's just amazing. So if there's somebody listening in and they're thinking, wow, I really like Cliff and, I want to learn more about Cliff and I want to, get connected with you. Can you tell us more about Show Me the Rental and how people can get connected with you?
Yeah. So just a quick explanation of Show Me the Rental. It's basically an online system we created. It advertises, generates leads, pre-screens the leads, and then automates the showings. And basically it turns, and then it sends them online applications. So basically it takes care of all the crap part of property management that we had, and it automates it all. And you just sit back and wait for applications to come in. Now, again, I like to differentiate because some people get confused. It's a lead screening service, not a tenant screening service. So it doesn't do background checks. It doesn't do leases, anything like that. It literally, instead of you taking a phone call or the email, it automates that whole part and gets kind of like a big filter, and it gets those kind of door knockers or tire kickers out of the way, and then gets everybody down to the people who are pre-qualified to go see your house, and then takes care of it from there. I love it. Of course, I'm partial to it because it's mine. But we made it as cheap as we can. It's $49 until the property's rented. I'm a manager. My goal here is to get people to have dinner with their families again, because it's helped save my marriage and my life, really, because divorce is a nightmare. I couldn't even, we were headed down that road, and thank God we turned it around, because that would have been, I did all this for nothing then in my mind. So we made it very cheap, no nickel and dime stuff, $49 a month till it's rented. And that's basically it.
Wow. I love that. Thank you so much, Cliff. I really, really appreciate your time today. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for being on the show today.
Well, great, all. I appreciate the opportunity. You have a great day.